Has she been like this these 2 days? Cloud G this side is obviously can't talk. Mo Shanghua then turned to look at the small servant girl before. Back to the princess, since Mrs. Yun woke up in the evening yesterday, she has been dull and silly, but it is not as terrible as it is now. Speaking of the back, the voice of the little servant girl trembled. In this way, Yunji's madness is not too serious, and will be stable for a period of time. There are not many serious cases. Moreover, it seems that every time she is stimulated to get sick, it is because she's so thinking. Mo Shanghua took a handkerchief out, tied it on her cheek, covered her cheek, and then stepped forward. Before the collapse, Qinya anxiously drags the corner of the flower on the street. Princess, this woman is crazy. I'm afraid she dares to do anything. It's better to be a slave. You forget again, how can I do a losing business? Mo Shanghua gives Qinya a reassuring look, then whisks her hand away, and comes forward to lift the brocade quilt. Ah! Yunji screamed again, just like a frightened fawn, shrinking towards the foot of the bed in a panic. Mao Guang's panic sweeps on the face of Mo Shanghua and others. He doesn't find Mo Shanghua's face. He suddenly calms down and laughs with his knees. The willow eyebrows on the street can't help frowning. It seems that this is true. However, except that she would give Yunji a tit for tat, she didn't really stimulate her. When she was taken down that day, she didn't see any signs of madness. How could she suddenly go mad now? Is it difficult that someone deliberately harmed her during her absence? Think of this, she can't help but quickly across a flash of light, but, before she has time to grasp, there is a little guy outside in a hurry. Reply to the princess, there is a distinguished guest, please hurry to meet. What kind of guest do you want me to meet personally? Mo Shanghua thought about it in his head, so he interrupted, but he turned around and asked a question. Back to the princess, the messenger said, yes, His Royal Highness the Second Prince. Now he has been invited into the main hall. The little servant girl's voice fell, and the whole room was shocked. Qinya couldn't help it. She directly asked in surprise, are you wrong? Your Highness the Second Prince has not returned to the imperial city long ago. How could he be here? It's very important. I dare not lie. The servant girl quickly knelt down to show her loyalty. Take me quickly. Mo Shanghua feels that it's not easy, but he can't think of a reason for it. It's better to meet her as soon as possible and then make plans. Along the way, she was thinking about why Yen Moli suddenly appeared in Yuzhou, but she didn't receive any news. What made her think more was the person's intention, whether it was good or bad. Although there is worry in the flower heart on the street, it is still walking quickly. When passing by Pingji's residence, it happens that it bumps into him face to face. Pingji looked at the flowers on the street in a hurry. She was very happy. She looked at her and said, isn't this the princess? Moor, please help me to have a good look. Isn't it wrong for me? Shouldn't the princess be forbidden in the dockyard now? How can she be here? As her maid, Moor naturally cooperated very well. Madam, your eyes are correct, and I can see clearly. This is really a princess. It's not that I'm dazzled. I'll send my concubines greetings. Pingji this just a face suddenly blessing body salute, and then also don't wait for the flower on the stranger to open mouth, then woo from the body, however, maidservant but clearly remember, because of Cloud G's affair, the princess but voluntarily and South younger sister together ban foot, but now but regret, still can't bear lonely came out. The frown on the street was slight and indisputable. Seeing this, Qinya stepped forward and said in a cold voice, our princess has a reason to have to come out. Mrs. Shui still doesn't want to stop here. It's better to delay time. When my wife talks to the princess, there is no reason for my servant to interrupt. Can you be a cheap servant who wants to take the princess instead? Unexpectedly, this time, Pingji was a smiling face with no talent at all. She directly lowered her face and scolded harshly. Qinya choked and opened her mouth, but she didn't know how to refute for a moment. The flower on the street sees this, the cherry lips that tiny purse this just light stir up, the word is sharp, my person, how she should also be my business. Don't allow Ping-ji to take the place of a lesson. It is this little wench that you sighed, should adjust well is. Moor has always been loyal. Even if the princess is anxious to find someone to save her face, there is no need to involve an innocent person. Ping-ji always knew that Hua would fall down this time, so she had no scruple to speak. Innocent? I remember the day before yesterday, this little girl was making a lot of noise in front of the dockyard. I thought about Ping-ji's face at that time, so I didn't investigate too much. But now, Ping-ji, you seem to pay special attention to the rules and ethics of the maidservant, so that you don't get the reputation of being unfaithful and crooked in the future. The flower eyes on the street look at Ping-ji calmly, but the words they spit out seem to have sharp spikes, which makes Ping-ji very irritable. She pinched the handkerchief hard and let it go again after a while. She said without a smile, I'm afraid that the upper beam is not right and the lower beam is crooked. It's a pity that it's not here. Now the princess herself has gone in and out of the palace without permission, regardless of the rules. Are you afraid that this custom can't be brought up in the palace? In my opinion, maybe the whole people of Yuzhou City will fight to be like the princess. It seems that Ping-ji should really learn the rules. When her black and white eyes looked directly at Ping-ji, she felt that the development of things was beyond her imagination. Sure enough, in her uneasy eyes, Mo Shanghua looked at her very quietly, with a deep voice. First of all, there are noble guests in the house. If the Lord is not here, I am the most qualified person in the house. I have to come out to receive them during the forbidden period. You can tell me, if I don't come, who is qualified in the mansion, you or the rest of the concubines? Or do you mean to make the palace a laughing stock and make people laugh? In this way, Ping-ji's face turned white and angry, but she still had nothing to say. She couldn't speak, but she didn't plan to stop. She simply lowered her face deliberately. Secondly, the matter of Yunji hasn't been decided yet. The position of my princess is still the hostess of the house. You are only a concubine. How can you speak ill to my princess? Don't say there's nothing wrong. Even if there's something wrong, it's not your turn to talk. Chinya, hold her mouth. You Ping-ji smell speech, almost gas of jump up, clench one's teeth way, you can't so punish me, I just for a moment blunder. Mo Shanghua doesn't want to pay attention to her. She turns around and orders Chinya, you'll punish me here. Later, you'll go to the main hall to find me. If you have any resistance, you'll double it. Princess, don't worry. For those who dare to offend and speak ill of others, I will not be soft-hearted. Chinya immediately and crispy should come down, lip corners can't control schadenfreude slightly up. Mo Shanghua nodded again, for looked at the body slightly shaped some servant girls to stay here, then went to the front hall alone. Seeing this, Chinya winked at the two of them. The two of them knew each other and immediately came forward to suppress Ping-ji. Flat G done when the flower looks pale, struggled twice fruitless, then angry way, a gang of cheap maidservant, quickly get away, my wife is you can touch. Next to the wood sun see, then you go to pick and pull one of the maid's arm, shouting, you still don't let go of madam, careful your dog life. Chinya's eyes passed again, and the two remaining servant girls suppressed Moor. Looking at the master and servant who are struggling and angry, Chinya steps forward slowly. I'm just under orders. I don't dare to touch them. I have to touch them. Madam, forgive me. Said the words of apology, the action in her hand is also merciless ruthlessly fell down, left and right bow, not long, the 10 slaps will be finished. Each of these 10 slaps is extremely heavy, and Ping-ji's cheek has become red and swollen. Thinking of Ping-ji's usual arrogance, Chinya pretends to be sorry and says, the princess has also ordered that if there is any resistance, she will be punished twice. Madame Xue and her maidservant have offended. With that, he continued to bow left and right. Ping-ji had no chance to scold others, so she was beaten again. Her hands were tightly fisted, and her slender nails almost pierced her palms. Her heart was filled with hatred. See your highness the second prince. As soon as Mo Shanghua entered the main hall, he saw a handsome man in Xuani sitting quietly in the main seat. Knowing this, he bowed his eyes and saluted. Princess, you are welcome. Beicheng is the emperor's younger brother of our palace. You are the younger sister. You really don't have to be so polite. Get up quickly. Yan Mo Li see this, immediately put down the tea in the hand, a smile, is very gentle mouth. If it is true that it is still the same as before, the essence of clothing and animals will not change at all. The flower heart in the Mo is very cold to think, but on the face is light way. Thank your highness, just gift can't abandon, minister concubine dare not overstep. While speaking, he stood up. Since this is the case, we don't insist on it. Sit down. Yan Mo Li lips smile unchanged, just eyes color slightly deep, it seems to meditate on something. Mo Shanghua just sat down in the position of the next head and looked at Yan Mo Li quietly. However, the eye of the people, it is to let her eyes flash a bit shocked. Is as like as two peas. He is just the same man who had fought yesterday. Even the Xuani bodyguard behind her is the same as the one she fought with yesterday. She has thought that this person's origin must be not simple. She didn't expect it to be taken by surprise. More unprepared is, in this way, some of her details will be exposed in front of Yan Mo Li, which is absolutely not good for her. So think, Mo Shanghua calm eyes this just microwaves, such as quiet Yutan put a fist big stone, set off a wave. The bodyguard was obviously surprised to see the face of the flower on the street, and turned to his master. Yan Mo Li did not seem to see the general, only skin does not smile at Mo Shanghua, success from her eyes to capture surprise, as well as deep thinking, his lips just micro can't check a few radians. What is the princess thinking, so absorbed? As if he didn't know what was on his mind, he asked a little concerned. Mo Shanghua instantly returned to his senses and gently shook his head, nothing, your highness. By the way, didn't your highness have already returned to the imperial city? Why did he suddenly come all the way? It's a long story. Mention this matter, Yan Mo Li seems to think of something, a wry smile, said, more than a month ago, Miss Lu and I travel half the way, not to the imperial city, then received the imperial edict of the father. According to the imperial edict, there was a traitor in Wenjun mountain near Yuzhou. He ordered me to go back to fight the rebellion immediately, and sent generals to send Miss Lu back to the imperial city. Speaking of this, he looked more and more depressed. I didn't want to divide up. There were so many traitors, and they were very crafty. I was defeated from the local troops, and I was seriously injured. I was chased and killed by those traitors, so I had no choice but to go here. Fortunately, they don't dare to fool around in Yuzhou for the time being. Mingming's expression is sincere, but the last sentence seems to have deep meaning, which makes her eyes move and her heart sink. Yan Mo Li is such a person, she doesn't think it will be so simple. However, it is true that he was seriously injured, and she personally explored it yesterday. As for how this wound came, and Yan Mo Li's real purpose, I'm afraid it's all related to Yan Beicheng. For today's plan, we have to wait for Yan Beicheng to come back and make a long-term plan. So thinking, Mo Shanghua was very cooperative, and his face was surprised. What happened? I've lived in Yuzhou for a long time, but I don't know that there's a traitor in Wenjun Mountain, which is only 50 miles away from Yuzhou. It's really short of my knowledge. After all, you're a woman. You're always in the back of the house. Naturally, you can't compete with people who show up every day. Yan Mo Li smile, low voice relief. However, a pair of flower-cut water autumn pupil light flash for a moment, but his face is just alienated and polite lip smile, and immediately return to the usual indifferent appearance. Only her heart is the most clear, Yan Mo Li that sentence meaning. It seems that he can still remember yesterday clearly, which is a deliberate reminder to her. Yan Mo Li but look as usual, suddenly think of what General Mao Guang turned in the hall, how not to see the North City. To be honest with your highness, I went to Wujuan with the princess a few days ago. When I came back, the prince thought the scenery there was strange and different from here, so he said he would stay a few more days and have a good time. Mo Shanghua had expected it for a long time. Naturally, he was able to deal with it freely, and his words were full of helplessness. Wang Yi has always been such a temperament and unrestrained. I've been married to Yuzhou for so long, and I always see him playing outside all day long. I will repair my books later. Please come back. Don't blame your highness. No way. Yan Mo Li is very understanding smile, the temperament of North City this temple is also clear, childhood he is so, always like novelty and interesting things, such a childlike heart, but extremely rare. I don't mind. The flowers on the street gathered their eyes and responded with neither humble nor overbearing. At this time, Qinya had finished the explanation of Mo Shanghua. She came in to face Yan Mo and Li Fu. Then she came to Mo Shanghua's side and said in a low voice, "Princess, things have been done." When the maidservant came, the people around Pingji had already asked for a doctor. Pingji didn't accept it before, but later she was a lot more honest. Well done. The delicate mandible of the flower on the street is a little bit, and the words are spoken in a low voice. After a pause, his eyes fell on Yan Moli, and his voice recovered as usual. Qinya, go to make arrangements for a secluded place in the mansion. I'm sending someone to invite a doctor. Later, I'll go to the Second Highness for consultation. Second Highness? Qinya was surprised. He didn't expect that this distinguished guest was such a distinguished guest. He stared at Yan Mo in shock. Presumptuous. The bodyguard behind Yan Mo Li's body saw this and immediately swept his eyebrows and scolded. Qinya suddenly turned back and knelt down with a pu tong sound. I'm sorry, Your Highness. The flower eyebrow on the Mo heart tiny Siyu also busily opened a mouth to beg for mercy. Your Highness, this wench has no knowledge, first time see you such big person, this is so, I go back to will teach well, also hope Your Highness don't want to care with her. Since there is no intention to lose, naturally there is no need to investigate. Go on. Yan Moli raised his hand to the bodyguard behind him, and the bodyguard immediately retreated. Thank you for your grace. Qinya was relieved, grateful to see a flower on the street, and hurried down like a frightened cat. As he walked, he could not help thinking that these two princes were ordinary people, but his bodyguards were too fierce. There were only a few people left in the house. The flower in the street has never talked much. No one spoke, so he held a cup of tea and lowered his head to drink. His eyes drooped. The long and thick eyelashes, like a fan, covered up the look inside her eyes, making people unable to see what she thought clearly. By the way, we have already sent a message to our father about the current situation. We will have to wait for some time before we can reply to the letter. During this period, I'm afraid we'll be harassing here for a while. The house was quiet for a long time. Yan Emoli suddenly raised his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. He opened his mouth with a smile and a kind face. Flying pigeons have always been very fast in transmitting letters. If they want to stop them, it's also very difficult. Coupled with his sudden arrival, the carrier pigeons already don't know where to go. In this way, although he was far away in Yuzhou, Mo Shanghua and others had to worry about his safety. Otherwise, if something happened to him in Yuzhou, he would only be put on the head of Mo Shanghua Yanbeiqing. However, it also shows another thing. He must be suspicious of Yanbei City. The color of the flower eyes on the street remained unchanged, and he said with a smile, Your Highness and the Lord are brothers, and the Lord's residence is as long as you want. I think the Lord has been busy for a long time. I'm tired. Why don't I send someone to pass on the meal first? After the meal, the residence should be cleaned up and ready to move in. In this way, we are not polite. Yan Mo Li is very generous and decent smile. Without Yanbei City, the flowers on the street can't be talked about by others. When eating, she can only accompany each other. After a lunch, she only feels that her mouth is sour because she keeps talking. After lunch, Yan Moli went back to her residence for a while, and then she was able to breathe and go back to the dockyard to have a rest. Thinking about what's happening together at the moment, Yen Moli, who doesn't know the purpose, develops a medicine to cure Qin Lin and Qinya. Yunji's illness is not urgent. She can make plans when she's almost recovered. Just two things in front of her make her frown and get a little irritable. Jiang He can't keep it for long, but it's not a big problem to have the classic sent by Lu Zheng. Only Yen Moli made her feel a little irritable for the first time. She thought that when she met Yen Moli, she had been in Yuzhou for many years, not to mention plump wings, and would not be so unstable as now. It's really eventful. Qinya brought a small celadone cup and put it in front of Mo Shanghua. With a little curiosity, she said, "Is the princess worried about her second highness? It's strange that he's here. How can I not worry?" At the thought of this, the frown on the street was uncontrollable, and the object in front of him didn't move. The princess used to say that the soldiers came to block the water and cover the land. What's more, the second highness's intention is very clear on the surface, and there is nothing special to care about at the moment. Why do you worry too much? Just look for someone to watch carefully. Qinya sees this, the clear pupil bone Lu turns, like this persuades. Mo Shanghua frowned and thought about it. She repeated Qinya's words in her heart. After a while, she relaxed her eyebrows. What you said is very reasonable. Maybe it's time for the soldiers to block. There are too many things in these days. I don't know what I'm thinking. Qinya pushed the cup in front of Mo Shanghua. Her eyes were full of worry. The princess hasn't had a good rest these days. I'm afraid it's because of this. It's Anshan soup. You might as well have a rest and get up to do something else. Mo Shanghua's delicate chin tiny point, cast a reassuring look at her. I'll drink later, you go down first. The princess must remember. Qinya is not at ease to see her one eye, just took the tray down. Mo Shanghua did not drink tea. She got up and went to the desk. She took a piece of writing paper and flattened it on the desk. Then she studied the ink in person. She picked up a pen and began to write on the writing paper. The content of the letter is very simple, only a short sentence. The second prince suddenly visited and returned immediately after seeing the letter. Apart from that, she did not mention anything else, nor did she ask for a reply. After that, she put away the letter paper, got up to sweep the table, left the bedroom and went to a quiet place in the hospital. After looking around, she said, "Come out, I know you've been there." The word sound falls down, two Xian dressed dark Wei just suddenly appear, cover to go to Mao inside surprised, in front of Mo Shanghua bend over to salute, subordinate wait for the order of the lord secretly protect the princess, don't know what the princess has to order. Give this to your master. Mo Shanghua was not coy, but took out the letter paper directly. One of the dark Wei stretched out his hand to take over, very simply Lo should be, yes, what else does the princess have to command? Mo Shanghua wanted them to stare at Yen Moli when Yen Beiqing didn't come back, but on second thought, they must be alert, so they shook their heads. The two dark guards were waiting to retreat. Suddenly, their eyes flashed and they called them, "Wait, there are some effective girls in the house." She didn't believe in the power of Yen Beiqing. There were only these mysterious dark guards. He must have trained some other talents. The dark Wei hesitated when he was young, and the dark Wei next to him bumped him with his elbow, silently reminding him. Yen Beiqing had given orders before. If the princess had orders, they would try their best to finish them. Although they didn't tell them, they should obey them. Dark Wei Wu thought about it, and then said, "Back to the princess, there are several girls in the East Pavilion who are still smart." Mo Shanghua's eyes flickered slightly, his face was not clear, and his tone was somewhat tentative. "If I want to choose some of them to serve my second highness for the time being." This time, the dark Wei simply said, "You are the princess, the main house of the size of the matter, the people of the house should naturally listen to your dispatch." The shimmering light in the beautiful eyes of Mo Shanghua turned into a deep color. She nodded and let the dark guard go down. Then, he immediately ordered Qinya to go to the East Pavilion to pick some smart people and send them to Yen Moli. They were called servants, but they were actually surveillance. Instead of sending people to watch quietly and being found dead, it's better to send people in a big way. The people who are trained in Yanbei City should not be so easy to show their feet. After ordering everything, Mo Shanghua shut himself up in the house again, holding the classics sent by Lu Jing to study, and even didn't use dinner. Sister Nanha, I'll send this letter for you, but I didn't send the princess's letter. I really don't know what I wrote. Don't make it difficult for me. The Dark Wei, who has been in charge of contacting Yan Beicheng, frowns and opens his mouth. The South Crane slightly raised the chin, the eyebrows increased a few minutes cool color. How, you plan to send me so again? Don't forget, in terms of status, I'm 2 levels higher than you. I really can't command you. If it's not for the sake of concealing the flaws, and for Yan Beicheng to see her friendship for him, she doesn't bring any of her subordinates. Why talk to this man now? Sister Nanha, although you are 2 levels older than me, you and I are not in the same department. I'm sorry I can't obey your orders. Dark Wei's face was a little bit cold, and his tone was a lot stiff. It's really good. There was a touch of warm anger in the eyes of the South Crane. After a long silence, his voice softened a little, and he said with a smile, I'm sorry, I'm just too eager. You know my friendship with the Lord. That's what it is. You don't want to see strange talent. Dark Wei sees this, complexion this just relaxed a few, South Crane elder sister Sin said so, I naturally didn't hold to don't put of reason. South Crane lips angle smile deepened a few su, eyes inging contain autumn, you and I are always the same person on the Lord, can you read the past love, put my letter forward some? Dark Wei pondered for a moment, just Wei, such a simple thing can barely do, South Crane elder sister is at ease. It's no secret that Nan he has been happy with Yan Beicheng for many years. She is in love with Yan Beicheng, and he doesn't refuse. Well, thank you very much. The South Crane immediately smile of eyebrow eyes all bent a few su, usually that just like Kalen flower kind of arrogance as if with the wind scattered general, half scent also can't find, lining cheek more and more delicate. Even the Dark Wei in the heart can't help but be in a trance for a while, then react to come over, hurriedly say hello, turn round to hide with the garden again. With no one around, the radiance of the South Crane's lips was gradually flattened, and the look in his eyes was completely dark. He pinched an open jasmine in the garden with hatred and anger, but in an instant, she was pinched and twisted in her population, and the juice stuck in her hands, and she didn't feel it. After a while, she released her hand, looked down at the deformed and twisted residual flowers in her hands, and said with red lips, you'll see, I will surely make your end more tragic than this flower, and then I will be alone in the branches, protected by him, loved and laughed at your tragic ending. In the afternoon, the sun was dazzling, and everywhere was warm. Only her delicate cheek was covered by the cloak, which made her face more gloomy and cool. The night is deep, but the bedroom with flowers on the street is still brightly lit. Chinya, holding her chin and another little girl, was outside the house. Looking at the candle still not extinguished in the house, she couldn't help sighing, the princess is almost like this every day these days. How can she stand it? No, today's dinner is useless. I don't know what I'm doing now. How can I stand it for a long time? Another servant girl sees this, also followed to echo 2 sentences. The princess's temper is useless to persuade. How can it be good? Speaking of this, Chinya can't help but feel sad again, remorse and worry in her heart. After all, Mo Shanghua didn't sleep at this time, so she was studying how to treat her and her brother's illness. When they heard the conversation, they didn't know what they thought. They suddenly stopped. When they raised their eyes, they were gone. Mo Shanghua in the room is now playing with a medicinal plant, not to mention the movement outside the window, even the conversation between Chinya and Chinya outside the bedroom is not in the ear, selfless research. After a long time, she wanted to put down the herb and read the classics carefully, but she suddenly felt that there was someone behind her. Before she could react, she was hugged directly from behind, and her whole body was encircled in that person's arms. A sense of familiarity poured into her heart. Around is so, she still can't help struggling twice, low voice Wei, Yan Beicheng, you let me go. It seems that the princess is really true love for me. I guess it's me. In the past, Yan Beicheng's low but frivolous voice came from behind, which made Mo Shanghua's face burn and struggle harder. You let go. Yan Beicheng was holding a food box in his hand. For fear of overturning the food box, he could only relax his hand and stare at the flowers on the street with some grievances. I haven't seen you for a long time. The princess is so mean even in her arms. It's really sad. Mo Shanghua just turned around, but before she could answer, Qinya, who was supposed to be guarding the night outside, suddenly pushed the door and burst in. As soon as she came in, her eyes fell anxiously on Mo Shanghua. What happened? But there was something wrong. Before he had finished his sentence, he glanced at Yan Beicheng, and his mouth suddenly surprised as if he could put an egg in it. Mo Shanghua is nothing, but Yan Beicheng stares at Qinya with displeased eyebrows. Don't you go out yet? Qinya came back to China. She lowered her head and quickly stepped back to close the door. The little servant girl who didn't dare to go and just now came and asked curiously, Sister Qinya, what happened inside? How did you come out again? It's nothing, but it's something the princess made by accident. Qinya's eyes and nose care, but she doesn't know what to do. As he said this, he took the little servant girl to the distance. There's no need to guard here. Let's go further. No matter how confused she was, she would not say a word more. Yan Beicheng in the house saw that someone had left, and his sword eyebrows were smoothed. He snorted unhappily. Then he took the food box to the pear-wood round table, opened the food box and took out the contents one by one. It's not a delicacy. It's just 2 plates of simple cakes and a cup of hot tea. The tea is especially sweet. I came to the house so late, and there was nothing to eat in the kitchen. So I used these cushions first, and you came to eat with me. Then he took a piece of cake and ate it with great interest. Mo Shanghua came over and sat down beside him, staring at the tea and snacks in front of him, but he didn't move. How can there be hot tea in the kitchen in the middle of the night? Yen North City Mao inside rare flash a tiny light, on the face is very indifferent excuse, I want to drink tea, also used to see time. When the flowers in the street heard the words, their doubts suddenly disappeared, but they still didn't move the cake. I'm not hungry. Just eat it yourself and don't disturb me. Now it's late. I'll talk to you tomorrow. She thought that the flowers on the street must have come back quickly after receiving the letter. In addition to the current time, according to ordinary people's thinking, it's time to have a good rest. With that, she got up and planned to go back to the bookcase and continue to study. Before taking a few steps, Yan Beicheng put down the cake, got up, grabbed her slender wrist and pulled her into his arms. Mo Shanghua's half-body was attached to Yan Beicheng's body. Through the thin material, he clearly felt the cold air from outside. Her heart suddenly a startle, also have no time to struggle, subconsciously then pull his wrist, plain hand puts in his pulse, how so cool. In this case, it is very easy to catch cold. It's a bit chilly outside. I've always been strong. I'm not in the way. Although Yenbei's head was still so frivolous, his face was not. He can't help but droop his eyes, looking at the flower on the street who is paying attention to her pulse. Suddenly, his heart moves. The other hand around the flower's waist is quietly released, and his body also retreats 2 steps, not letting the cold on his body pass the flower on the street. Mo Shanghua thought that he was swept by himself, but he didn't think deeply. For a long time, her shallow frown eyebrows slowly spread, it really doesn't matter. I told you, but you don't believe it. Yen North City lips a hook, toward her show Yen a smile, pull her to sit down again, your face this king looks is not good, what thing and wait for tomorrow to do, now you must accompany this king to use up these snacks, accompany this king to sleep. The flowers on the street and willow eyebrows pick slightly, and say leisurely, eat with me and sleep with me, Yenbei City, what's your idea? It's not that I heard that you didn't have dinner and didn't sleep well, which is a casual excuse. Thinking about this, he crossed a dark color at the bottom of his quiet eyes, you are the princess of the king. These are your duties as husband and wife. He seems to be careless to Shang Yan Beicheng, but in fact, his eyes are deep and deep, and he can't distinguish his emotions clearly. The flowers on the street suddenly choke. On the surface, it seems that there is really no problem. Seeing that the flowers on the street were not right, Yan Beicheng's deep eyes couldn't help skipping a faint smile. He raised his hand and pinched a piece of hibiscus cake to her lips. It's not too cold. Here, come and have a taste. At that time, the candlelight in the house was warm and warm, reflecting on Yan Beicheng's facial features as if it were an elaborate sculpture. The scarlet birthmark on his side face was like the setting sun on his face. It was clear and vivid as if he was alive. On the contrary, he felt that the flower on the street was not ugly, and it seemed more and more beautiful. Do you want the king to put it in your mouth? Yan Beicheng saw that she didn't swallow it for a long time. Instead, she went away and began to speak displeased. Mo Shanghua this just came back to mind, subconsciously raised his hand to touch his flat belly, raised his hand to take it, slowly eat her up. How can she not be hungry without dinner? She didn't want to go to dinner because she had put all her mind on that volume of classics, so as not to waste her time. Now it's obviously different. In Yan Beicheng's usual style, even if she really doesn't eat, he will have all kinds of ways to disturb her, so that she can't continue to study. So, it's better to treat your stomach better. Seeing that Mo Shanghua was finally willing to eat, Yan Beicheng felt inexplicably relieved and pushed the tea to Mo Shanghua. He rarely calmed down and quietly watched Mo Shanghua eat. It wasn't until Mo Shanghua had almost eaten and drank the tea that he realized that Yan Beicheng didn't seem to have taken a few bites. You brought it to me on purpose? Mo Shanghua raised her eyes to see him, and asked lightly. Yan Beicheng jumped in his heart, but his face didn't change much. I just can't eat it. I specially brought it to you. I've been running all the way. How can I have such a leisurely mind? Mo Shanghua is just dull, not stupid. He doesn't believe it. He can't help looking at him suspiciously. You said that you have been running all the way, and at this moment, you must have come back quickly. In this case, how can you still have time to eat well? You see, I'm so thin. I don't eat much. Yan Beicheng smiles and cheekily talks nonsense. Mo Shanghua is used to Yan Beicheng's impudence, so he has no intention to study deeply. Now that she mentioned the matter of coming back, she asked, Did you come here quickly after you received my letter? Letter? Did you send a letter? Yan North City pick eyebrow, seem to be don't know. Don't you see? Then how? Yan Beicheng thought about it quickly. Then he thought that he got the news early this morning. Yan Moli appeared in the city and worried about what he would do in Yuzhou City. He left everything behind and rushed back. He didn't know in advance about his return. The letter from Mo Shanghua must have been sent after that. Naturally, I miss you so much that I come back quickly. Thinking of this in his heart, he hooked his lips on his face and looked at her very vaguely. What did the princess write to the king? Why don't you tell me? Mo Shanghua looked at Yan Beicheng, frowning into a group of eyebrows, not only did not ease, but more tight. You this person how so strange, just refused to admit that it is specially for me to bring food, but now again and again said miss me, happy already is it difficult to become you are actually a man of duplicity? The phoenix eyes of Yanbei City, which had not changed for thousands of years, finally had some waves. For example, when Xiaoshi was thrown at half of them, the waves were not big, but it was also obvious that she was a little shy, and could not say a word to refute. Mo Shanghua looked at Yan Beicheng's fresh appearance. She could not help leaning forward and staring at him seriously. This is the first time I saw something else in your eyes. It seems that you are not without weakness. Yan Beicheng suddenly became more and more embarrassed. Shua stood up, raised his eyes and looked at the bonsai in the distance. This king is also an ordinary person, how can he have no weakness? He was also awakened by the word, flowers on the street. It turned out that he really had weaknesses. It's not because Mo Shanghua said something so thoughtless, but she is a man. Mo Shanghua raised his lips slightly and stood up in front of him. I said, why did you always tease me before? It turns out that the fun is really very intriguing. Looking at the smile in front of him, the flowers on the street, Yan Beicheng's eyes crossed the dangerous dark on, and the embarrassment in his eyes was also pressed down. Naturally, there is fun, but it's always led by the king. Voice just fell, then a long arm stretch, the flowers on the street to his arms. The flowers on the street suddenly lift their eyes, and they forget to struggle with the bright eyes just like the moonlight. Yan Beicheng was also looking down at her. At such a close distance, there was only one idea in his heart. It turned out that her face was so small that it seemed that he could cover it with one hand. There are her people, also seems to be too thin, in the future must give her a good tonic is. When the flowers on the street suddenly come back to me, they have been directly held up by Yanbei City. What are you going to do? Mo Shanghua was in a panic, for fear that he would be a beast at this time. Do the right thing. Yan Beicheng knew her fear, but deliberately picked lips, ambiguous answer. Mo Shanghua's body suddenly froze. Before he could react, he was put down by Yan Beicheng. But he, a royal son born with dignity, bent down and took off her shoes. You. The flower on the street was surprised by his action and stared at him. For a moment, he didn't know how to deal with himself. I'm tired. I want to have a rest. You can go there quickly. Before returning from such tenderness and carefulness, Yan Beicheng's words brought her back to reality. Just now, she was just a master of kung fu. Yan Beicheng took off his shirt and stood in front of her in a thin Chinese dress, ready to go to bed. The flower on the street saw that the trance disappeared and frowned. I don't need to rest. You can go to bed. Then he looked down for the shoes. Before his feet touched her shoes, Yan Beicheng raised his feet and kicked her shoes far away, then directly took off his boots and threw them aside, holding her and lying down. Mo Shanghua raised his hand and pushed his chest, his ears turned red quietly. Go to sleep. Yan Beicheng just vomited a word briefly, pulled the quilt to cover for two people, then closed his eyes, without any side action. Mo Shanghua's hand moves and looks at Yan Beicheng's sleeping face, which is so close to Yan Beicheng that she has some helplessness in her heart. I must be too tired. She whispered a word, and put light action, trying to struggle for a while, only to find that it is asleep. His arm is like an iron wall, tightly around her. Mo Shanghua was afraid to disturb him, so she gave up the struggle, sighed helplessly, turned her back, and then closed her eyes and went to sleep peacefully. As soon as she turned around, Yan Beicheng's eyes opened. He looked at the back of Mo Shanghua's head. A smile flashed in his eyes. He held Mo Shanghua's hand tightly, and then closed his eyes again. A night without a dream. When I wake up the next day, Yanbei City is no longer there. Only Qinya smiles and looks at her vaguely. Qinya, did you smoke your eyes? Mo Shanghua hugs Jean Quilt to sit up, the skin does not smile of spit out a words. Not only was Yan Beicheng not angry, but his eyebrows and eyes were smiling more and more, like a new moon. Princess, do you know that the Lord came back to the city this morning, but the maids saw it yesterday, and he clearly went back last night. She did not continue to say the following words, but the ambiguous eyes were enough to explain everything. Hearing the words, the flower in the street was embarrassed. She was a little annoyed and said, the words are more and more. That day, you should stay in Wujuan and let your brother come back with you. Princess, are you angry now? Qinya was not afraid of half a cent, and she went forward with a smile. Mo Shanghua raised her hand and pressed the center of her eyebrows, but said, okay, clean up, I'm going to get up. Maidservant is ready long ago. Qinya smiles, turns around and goes out for a moment, then puts the washing utensils in the room. Mo Shanghua nodded, took the clothes and dressed slowly. Qinya knew that Mo Shanghua didn't like other people's help in dressing, so the Marquis stood aside and said, after the Lord came back this morning, he had a chat with his Second Highness, and then he went back to have a rest. This morning, Mrs. Ping went to see her. Can you see it? Mo Shanghua's heart moved. He asked a question that he didn't care about in the past. Qinya couldn't help but chuckle. Princess, don't worry, the Lord didn't see her at all. Mo Shanghua nodded, then he got up and went to clean up. Qinya followed her and waited on her. She couldn't help joking, doesn't the princess want to know the details? Mo Shanghua turned her eyes and glared at her. I've got so many things on me now. How can I have time to listen to these gossip? Do you really want to go to Wujuan for a while? Good princess, I know I'm wrong. If I don't say it, it's not. Seeing this, Qinya immediately begged for mercy and said nothing else. Qinya knows that Yanbei City is back, so does Nanha. She didn't know how to think about it. She ran out of the hospital without stopping her feet. She changed into a simple and elegant dress and knelt outside the hospital with a posture of taking off her hairpin. The little fellow who was guarding outside didn't dare to pass on the news for a long time. First of all, Nanji and Mo Shanghua are obviously falling out now, and Mo Shanghua's wrist is so determined. It's said that Pingji was punished yesterday. No one in the house is afraid of offending Mo Shanghua. Second, although the Lord likes his wife, he has just had a rest after a long journey. He is even more afraid of disturbing the Lord. His life is not guaranteed. Nanji was just kneeling. She didn't speak since she said she wanted to see the Lord. Just, with the passage of time, the face is more and more white, thin body seems to be able to fall down at any time. Seeing this, he had to bite his teeth and went in to pass the news. Yan Beicheng was lying on the collapse, holding a cover in his hand to write, read the book of miscellaneous records of various countries. After listening to the little C's biography, he ran across a shade in the deep of his pupils, and his face was still frivolous. My wife has been kneeling outside for a long time, and now you come to biography, aren't you impatient? I don't want to invite people in yet. Little C in the heart this just silently relaxed a breath, yes, slave this go. After a while, Nanhe came in with the boy. Looking at the person who has been missing for many days, Nanhe's pale and clear face is a bit sour, and his eyes are red. I've seen Wang Yi Jinan. Seeing this, Yan Beicheng threw the book in his hand and quickly stepped to Nanji's body and lifted her up. How could he be so pale, but he was ill. Nanha nibbled his lower lip and shook his head slowly. My concubine just missed the prince so much that she didn't eat well. The princess controlled the house very well and was very generous to everyone. It seems to be a compliment, but in fact it is a deliberate complaint. It's easy to tell that there is something fishy about it, but people can't help sighing that Mrs. Nan is really kind. Mingming has been banned and framed by the princess, and she is still speaking for the princess. Yan Beicheng's eyes deepened a little, but she just didn't understand. She said, the princess is always a person who knows the general, and she is not too bad to others. These days, with a princess to take care of you, I can rest assured. The South Crane's heart was filled with depression, but he had to smile just right. What the Lord said is that my maid and concubine are new here. I'm afraid I can't get a foothold in the mansion so soon without the care of the princess these days. After a pause, she said with a smile, but I came here for the sake of the princess. What's the matter, just say it slowly. Come on, sit down first and have a rest. Yan Beicheng's smile remained unchanged. He took her hand and sat down in front of the soft collapse. Then he turned his eyes and looked at the young man who was still clubbing on one side. Go to pass on the breakfast, and everyone else will step down. I still have a lot to say to Mrs. Nan. Before, she was his concubine, but after, she was only his subordinate. If everyone left, she would be a subordinate again. How could the play go on? Lord, when I came here, I had already eaten too early. I don't need to eat any more. The South Crane drags Yan Beicheng's sleeve robe, very understanding opening. Then make 2 hot teas. Yan Beicheng man smiles with a flattering smile. The maidservant Ho is envious of him. He is too busy to step back for fear that he will affect their relationship here. Seeing this, the young man quickly stepped back. At the moment when all the people in the house go down, the dark guard has been quietly paying attention to the outside of the house, in case someone has ears. As soon as he was gone, Yan Beicheng's doting color faded little by little, and his clear and penetrating eyes gradually turned to deep, unpredictable appearance. Even the radiance of his lips, and his eyebrows and eyes were cold, as if they were a different person. South Crane Heart Lin, hurriedly back a few steps, and Yan Bei City to keep the distance, face gentle do fade, Lord. Yan Beicheng looked at her with no expression on his face. He couldn't see any emotion in his eyes. Why did he take off his hairpin in the morning? He was obviously asking questions, and his tone was very calm, as if he was just describing a very simple thing. The South Crane raises Mao to look at Yan North City, the voice is slightly low, originally come to beg a crime, now don't have to. If you have to say that, I think you should be clear, my lord. Yan Beicheng is as clear and intelligent as he is. I'm afraid she knows what she wants from the time she mentions the flower in the street, and from the time he pretends not to understand what she says. Yan Beicheng stared at her in silence for a long time, and then suddenly said, "Your courage and knowledge have improved a lot today." South Crane hook lips, pull out a wry smile, is not afraid of subordinates, but subordinates too much understanding of the Lord, just as the Lord knew my purpose in general. It was a long time of silence. After a long time, Yan Beicheng began to speak slowly, and his voice dropped a few degrees. As you are now in the mansion, it's okay for you to move anyone, and I won't ask too much. It's just that your idea should never hit her. Although Nanha had doubts for a long time, now he felt a dull pain in his heart when he heard what Yan Beicheng said. After a while, she bit her lip and said, "The Lord has been thinking about her for a long time, right?" However, Yan Beicheng didn't cheat her as she imagined. He just turned around without expression, nodded without expression, yes. But a slight nod, a word only answer, but completely shot her down in the abyss, physical and mental pain. She couldn't help but lift her eyes and touch the position of her heart. She asked incredulously, "I've been with you for so many years. Seeing you grow up step by step, can't compare with the months you just met her?" It's like asking yourself, and it's like a heart-splitting question. Yan Beicheng was still looking at her with no emotion. He took out a bright yellow memorial from his sleeve and put it on the table. "I'm not interested in what you think. I only know that you should have a good look at it. Come and see if it's written by you." Nan, he squeezed the palm of his hand, then forced down the surging emotion in his heart. Then he came forward and took the memorial and opened it. The memorial was presented to the imperial city. It was signed 5 days ago. Except for the brief description of the Wujuan incident, the rest of the contents were all about the accusation and the letter of guilt. The writer of the memorial was a stranger. The contents are the same as those discussed by Hua Qianlu and Hua Shanghua when they discussed how to solve the problem of Wujuan. They even wrote clearly about the request to abolish the throne of princess. The handwriting is also very imaginative with the flowers on the street. Those who are very familiar with it also need to look carefully to distinguish them. South Crane body suddenly a stiff, holding the hands of the memorial, biting lips speechless. "You are very good at imitating other people's handwriting, even my handwriting you can look the same, I'm afraid this memorial is from you." She didn't open her mouth, but Yan Beicheng didn't plan to give her more opportunities to hesitate. She said in a cold voice, "With your intelligence, it's easy to replace the memorial. If there is no accident in the middle of the journey, the memorial will be sent to the imperial city smoothly. Next, I'm afraid my princess will be replaced." In front of Yan Beicheng, the slightest disguise and excuse of Nan he was futile. Therefore, she just pinched the memorial tightly and didn't speak for a long time. In fact, she does not know how to explain now, so that Yan Beicheng can trust her again. He didn't say that, but Yan Beicheng didn't plan to stop. He took out another secret letter and threw it in front of her, "And this is also from your hand. And that day, it was just when you failed to frame the princess and nearly came to light. You worried that things would spread to me, so you did the same thing again and changed the secret letter that day." After a pause, his breath suddenly cooled down, which made people feel like falling into the ice cellar. Now, you want to take advantage of the villain to complain first, so I have to punish the princess. Any one of these is a felony. What felony? Nan he felt Yan Beiqing's anger, and the pain in his heart became more and more clear. A stream of gas in his heart rushed out, and he couldn't help saying, "We're not really that kind of relationship. I'm just one of your subordinates who came here to cooperate with you. What's wrong with me to cooperate with you and interpret the fight in the backyard incisively and vividly? Cooperate with me?" Yan Beiqing's face sank completely, his lips curled with a cold smile. "Since you say so, I will tell you clearly that she is not only the princess of you, but also my wife and your only daughter. If a murderer is found in the master, he should be punished for his crime. The only mistress, your wife." The South Cranes suddenly a zheng, can't help but leng of murmur a voice, "The brain is like a bang to open generally, the remaining words in the brain," and Yan Beiqing never had cold face. As usual, even if he had no intention of her, he had never been like this. He had the same attitude towards everyone, and she didn't feel so sad. Now, he will question him for a woman, blame her for a woman, and be angry with her for that woman. What a competent husband he should be for that woman. But for such a woman who has loved him for many years, how cruel it is. The South Crane one hand tightly grasps own heart place clothes she lapel, pinches the clothes in front of the chest all change the shape, the slender direct nearly will the clothes lapel all poke a hole. It's only a few months. How can it be so fast? What's good about that woman, and what's worse about me? For a long time, Nan he tried to force the tears back into his eyes. I'm not inferior to her in appearance and talent. Even if I'm inferior to her in martial arts, there are many better than her in other aspects. I've been around you for so many years. Isn't such a me enough to leave a place in your heart? She a pair of reserved eyes at this time dim a lot, eyes still have water light, but stubborn refuse to fall. What's the matter with me? In my eyes, only she is the best. That's enough. The South Crane is so pitiful, but Yan Beiqing doesn't look at it. He just utters words without emotion, and even has no shadow of her in his eyes. The heart, which has been stabbed with thousands of swords, suddenly broke into countless petals, almost choking with pain. Originally, a person does not love you, no matter how good you are, his eyes are without you. Eyes more sour, tears filled the eyes, she quickly raised her head, but tears, or down the eyes. In addition to the pain, the hatred in her heart also grew uncontrollably. He had never spoken so harshly to her. All this was brought by that woman. She wished she could destroy that woman's face and cut off her flesh one by one. Only in this way could she be defeated. One day, she will know that woman by herself. What she can't get, he doesn't want to stay with her forever, and everyone doesn't want to have a good time. Thinking about this, Nan he suddenly raised his skirt and knelt down. His chin was slightly raised, and his look in his eyes was restored to its former lofty and clear. The Lord is right, and all his subordinates recognize it. Please punish them according to the law. Nan he is willing to be punished. Yan Beiqing didn't answer immediately. His eyes were very deep. He couldn't see what he thought. It was very deep. I said, "Brother Beiqing, how can you have the heart to punish such a beautiful girl? If I were you, I'd rather not." It was the silence inside the house when a clear and smiling voice came in from outside. When I look up, I see that Hua Qianlu is walking slowly towards the house with a slow and lazy pace, smiling on his face and shaking his folding fan regularly, just like a white-faced young man who is walking in the garden. Yan Beiqing frowned slightly and looked up at him. "Why are you here?" At the moment, Yan Moli is still in the mansion, and it is not appropriate for Hua Qianlu to come at this time. Don't worry. No one can see me around. Are you sure you can do my martial arts? Flower Willow mood is not affected, very leisurely sat down beside him. Brother Beiqing, little beauty Nanha is infatuated with you. You can write that Taishu refuses to accept it. Now how can you be willing to pay a heavy penalty? Let's make the penalty lighter for the sake of my son. Although the tone is still casual, Yan Beiqing's heart is clear. He is afraid that he will kill Nanha and make a bad move in his anger. South Crane kneels on the ground, neither beg for mercy, nor agree, just droop eyebrows. The color of irony in his eyes is very clear, but no one can see it. Hua Qianlu looked at Nanha and Yan Beicheng, who had no expression on his face. Seeing that both of them didn't speak, he said, Nanha is wrong, but it's still your people. The punishment is heavy, but it's not good. Anyway, I want to protect this beauty today. Mouth said so, but the eyes did not see the slightest color of pity. I have my own discretion. Yan Beicheng didn't look at him, and his eyes were deep and unpredictable. Nan, he's unforgivable for his murder of his mother. He's thinking about his past achievements and won't be severely punished. Go and get 100 lashes yourself. If you go down with 100 lashes, I'm afraid you'll lose your life. Brother Beicheng, in my opinion, it's better to go down with 80. When Hua Qianlu saw this, she closed her folding fan and continued to plead. She looked like a fox with a smile on her eyes, but there was only one piece of indifference and no pity. Yanbei City is also half moved, voice cold without any emotion. The people around you are not very dedicated. It's time to change, Moling. As soon as the voice fell, Mo Ling flashed out from the dark and knelt down respectfully. What's the Lord's command? Yan North City side head looked at Mo Ling, continue to face expressionless mouth, send people in the East Pavilion to pick a few to send over, then said that the people around the South Crane can't serve well, close several need to change. In this way, it is necessary to monitor her. Nanha's slender hand, which is hanging down on the skirt corner, tightly grasps the skirt corner and makes it white between his fingers. In the final analysis, it's not to protect that woman. The Lord is really attentive to her, but she is a dispensable person who can be disposed of at will. Mo Ling looked at Nan He's thin body, but hesitated. Lord, that 100 whip is enough, this. If there is a plea, it will be punished at the same time. Yan Beicheng has not yet waited for her to finish, then interrupts directly. Now, the status of Mo Shanghua in his heart is extraordinary. He didn't have time to protect her. How can he let her be framed again and again by others? Even if she is not very human, she can always speak. If these troubles were to be solved, he would not be afraid of 10,000. He would not allow the possibility of such things to happen again. He would try his best to level up anything against her. Mo Ling sees this, complexion immediately a Lin, hang down ahead to come, is. With that, he flashed back. Hua Qianlu didn't intervene at this time. She opened the folding fan again and shook it gently, looking like a play. Although he seems to have feelings everywhere, in fact, he is also a very heartless person. If it wasn't for Nanha, he didn't plan to intervene. The South Crane clenched the skirt, slightly relaxed, slightly took a breath, bent down to kneel down, but clenched the lip, did not say a word. Before Yan Beicheng spoke, she got up, turned around and walked out slowly. Her face was paler than when she just went in. There was no one in the house. Hua Qianlu came over with a smile and joked, it seems that your tail is not clean enough. People have come to your house and you live in your house. You can't point out the poison on him. In the future, you have to find Xiaoma Hua to solve it. Yan Beicheng just eased a little, and his face became more and more dark. He was already a turtle in my urn. If it hadn't been for some accidents, I would have come back later, and he would not have had a chance to live to the palace. It's no accident. You're still waiting for him. Flower thousand willow lip angle radian more and more big, very is schadenfreude appearance. Yan Beicheng turned his eyes and looked at the flower willow. There were no waves or waves in his eyes, but there was a deterrent force in it. The back of the flower willow was cold. Yan Beicheng looked back and lifted his thin lip. But it's good to eat and drink. It's not that I can't afford to raise an idle man in Yuangfu. As for the poison on his body, even if he wants to find a princess for treatment, he needs the princess's consent. Mo Shanghua's identity is how to be robbed. How can she forget? Such hatred, even if it is not Mo Shanghua, for anyone, will never give up. Flower willow will fold fan away, rhythmic in the palm of the tap, is also, with the personality of small mo flower, don't give him in the next note poison edge is good, more panic cure. Mentioning the flowers on the street, Yan Beicheng's eyes could not help but smile. Although Yan Moli's move is good, he forgot that after all, the mountain is high and the emperor is far away. Even if I can't treat him openly, won't I be next to him? As long as he doesn't die. Flower Thousand Willow clear a smile, if really is the devil high 1 foot, the way high 1 foot, wonderful, really wonderful. Nanha left Yanbei City and went back to his own hospital. Not only did he not get punished for going out during the forbidden period, but he also got the pity of the king. But in fact, after Bingchui, her gentle and soft face immediately faded, her face changed into a black tie-sleeve dress and a broad cloak. She left the palace quietly and went to the dark guard camp of Yanbei City in Yuzhou City. In fact, it was built in the basement under the martial arts school. The area of the basement is very large, which is almost the same as that of the palace. The people who live in Yuzhou City every day can't imagine that they have been hollowed out a few meters deep under the road they walk and the house they live in. There is a huge and powerful secret guard camp hidden under it. However, this is just the headquarters. This dark guard camp has many branches in other places of Yuzhou. The number of people is comparable to that of a cavalry army. There are different departments in the camp. Each department is responsible for different areas, and the Criminal Responsibility Department is the one that Nanha wants to go to. Mo Ling has long been waiting for the Department of Criminal Responsibility. Seeing that the South Crane is coming, he greets him with a complicated complexion. He purses his lips and doesn't speak. The South Crane's face was as usual, but in the past, his whole body's arrogant momentum was frustrated, and he looked very low. She went to Maureen and looked at him. I'll take the punishment. Mo Ling pondered for a while, just nodded, let's go. The story of Nanha is also a legend in the dark camp. Originally, there were only men in the dark camp, but she was just a vagrant who was picked up by the Lord. She just survived the cruel training and broke the only woman in the dark camp who could survive the training. Not to mention that, later, she personally led 100 women's secret guards to come out. They were no less outstanding than men in completing the task, and they were very good at taking advantage of their female identity to facilitate the task. Mo Ling originally had some appreciation for Nan He, but Yan Beicheng had already given an order. He would not violate Yan Beicheng's order and show mercy to her because of this appreciation. They went to the person in charge of the Criminal Responsibility Department, and Mo Ling gave a brief explanation, and then signaled to execute the sentence. The people of the Criminal Responsibility Department were surprised to see that Nanha was all over the face. When the director of the department saw this, he couldn't help asking, how can there be so many 100 lashes? What's the mistake made by Nanha's sister, which made the Lord so angry? Against the mother. Looking at the state of Nanha today, the man didn't think that Nanha would answer, but he didn't expect that she was so calm and the amount of information she said was so shocking. All the people around them who heard this sentence widened their eyes, only to find it inconceivable. When do we have a mistress? What's the matter? Why did the Lord suddenly change and find a mother to come back? Sister Nanha has been attached to the Lord for many years. No wonder. In their eyes, this time is the princess's stranger, but the flower is not their mother, their real mother, of course, if Yan Beicheng personally admitted the talent count. All around the people's talk, South Crane eyes also can't help but show a touch of imperceptible hate color, palm tightly clenched. Nothing to do. All down Mo Ling glimpses the Su hand that South Crane clenches, raises head cold voice to scold. The crowd immediately shut up and walked away without saying much. The director of the Department for Criminal Responsibility did not ask any more questions. He turned to the person who was facing him and said, come on, get ready. South Crane will hate heart down, clenched hands slowly relaxed, nodded, followed by walk in, Mo Ling followed. The torture devices inside as like as 2 peas in the prison, and only a few dozen identical boards and whips, and a bench with dark red blood stains. Nan he took off his cloak and found one at random. He grabbed the edge of the bench and said, let's go. The people of the Dark Guard camp have always been indifferent. Although they came from the line of life and death together, if Yan Beicheng was there, he would show no mercy and take the whip and wave it down. People trained in the dark guard camp will not cry out. Therefore, Nanhe grasped the edge of the bench, and his long nails scratched out traces on the edge of the bench, but he didn't shout out, only a dull hum from time to time. After 100 lashes, her black clothes were torn by the long lashes, her whole body was dripping with blood, her face was as pale as paper, her hair was soaked with sweat, and she stuck it on her cheek, which made her even more embarrassed. In this way, it is even difficult to walk, and even more scared to return to the palace quietly. Mo Ling sighed and picked up Nanhe's cloak, which he had just put aside. He wrapped it around her and picked her up. Nanhe is still conscious, but unable to struggle, so he closes his eyes. He neither opens his mouth nor sleeps. He just quietly closes his eyes. When Mo Ling sent Nanhe back to her own hospital, Yuan Er and other close attendants had already been replaced. Only 2 maidservants in green are in the house. They are not surprised to see that Mo Ling has sent people here. They just welcome them up quickly. Maidservant has prepared the best medicine for acne. Just put your wife on the bed. Good. Mo Ling nodded and put the crane on the bed according to his words. Then he flew away from the window without saying much. When the 2 maidservants lifted Nanhe's cloak, they were also startled. This punishment is too serious. Madam, maidservant will take medicine for you first. Later, I'll go back to the king and ask the doctor to come. Nanhe closed her eyes and did not speak. No one knew. Her eyes were full of hatred at this time. Today's pain is from the Lord and from the woman. She will always remember it. Now she knew that even if the woman died, there would be no place for her in the Lord's heart. In that case, she would have to separate them. It's life or death. In her heart, she thought crazily. Even the pain brought about by her maidservant's medication seemed to be unconscious, and the corners of her lips tilted slightly with a strange radiance. Did Nanhe join in the fun? If I remember correctly, she should have been grounded just like me. Mo Shanghua listens to the news that Qinya has just gone out and sneaked around. Lu Mei can't help frowning. Qinya turned her lips, and her face was not very good. In any case, she couldn't stand being favored. It's said that the Lord didn't punish her at all, and he rewarded her with many things. Mo Shanghua Mei Xin is tight. See you, soft voice asks, what else? Can you mention the affair of Cloud Ji? Yunji's affairs had been suppressed for a while, only waiting for the result in the future. If Nanhe was interfering with it, it would be more complicated. Although she knew that Yan Beicheng would not move her in consideration of their cooperation, she still had no bottom in her heart because of her love for Nanhe. Qin Yaji Mo Shanghua why worry, but still blankly shook his head, this is not clear. After a pause, she raised her eyebrows again, and there was a kind of schadenfreude between her eyebrows and eyes. There was no movement from the Lord, but Mrs. Nan was ill in bed since she went back. The Lord had asked for a doctor, but she didn't seem to see it yet. Well, how can you suddenly get sick? The flower on the street whispered a word, and the color of thinking crossed in her eyes. In this case, unless someone wanted her to be sick. But isn't Yan Beicheng doting on her very much? They have a lot to do with each other. How could that be possible? While thinking about it, the maid outside suddenly came in and said, Princess, the prince is coming. Now you are in the house. Come out to meet you. Mo Shanghua and Qinya were both surprised. They didn't expect that Yan Beicheng would come when they were writing. Surprise to surprise, but the flowers nodded, get up to go out to meet. I've seen the Lord. Flowers on the road slightly blessing body, eyebrows drooping, not haughty mouth. Get up. Yan Beicheng nodded, directly came forward, took the hand of Mo Shanghua, and said with a smile, Go, I'm going in to talk with you. The tender hands of flowers in the street are wrapped by his generous palm nagging, but she is used to it and does not struggle. She obediently follows him and enters the house. But as soon as she fell, she drew her hands from the palm of Yan Beicheng's hand. After thinking about it, she said, Why are you here now? I heard that Nanji is ill. Don't you go and have a look? Princess, are you jealous? You can rest assured that there is a part of my heart with you, and I will never abandon you. Yan Beicheng, however, seemed unable to understand the seriousness of her words. Instead, he opened the topic and made a solemn promise. That's not what I mean. She asked in a low voice, Nanji went to see you, and then she got sick. You said, what's wrong with her? How can she open so suddenly? I'm not a doctor. How can I know that? Yan Beicheng shook his head with a blank face. Yan Beicheng refused to explain the reason, and Mo Shanghua didn't plan to ask again. After pondering for a while, he said, Yan Beicheng, I don't want to pay more attention to what you have done, but I hope you don't intervene in Yunji's affair. It's between me and Nanji. If you intervene, it will change the taste. Yan Beicheng looked at her for a long time, and the look in his eyes was treacherous and unpredictable. After a long time, he said with a smile, how can I understand your women's affairs, let alone intervene? As a matter of fact, he did intend to help her, but now, her attitude is so firm, he might as well follow her. The stone in the flower's heart fell to the ground, picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea, then looked at Yan Beicheng, who was still sitting opposite. What else do you want? Yan Beicheng immediately turned his lips and yelled, I just agreed to compare. That's what you do. It's really a bridge breaking. If all the women in the world are as cruel as you, how can we men live? The flower on the road is tiny to pick, quite of don't approve of, so how? You don't care about Yen Moli now? I remember that he still had a lot of poison on him. If he didn't get rid of the poison in time and died with you, I'm afraid you won't be able to say it in any case. Yan Beicheng touched his nose and his eyes were full of innocence. The poison on the emperor's brother came before he came here. Yuzhou is remote. Where can I find him a famous doctor to help him cure him? If my father must rely on Ben to finish this matter, what can I do except suffer it? You're very generous. On the street the eyebrows and eyes curved a few minutes, looking rather smiling, but if he concealed the poisoning? Yen North City Mao bottom mo color suddenly a coagulate, seem just will consider this point. Damn, he ignored that. Mo Shanghua saw that Yan Beicheng's expression was different, and the smile between his eyebrows and eyes also disappeared. I remember, he came from the city. I didn't mention the poisoning until yesterday. When I sent the doctor to reply, I didn't mention the poisoning. If it wasn't for mediocre medical skills, it would be. Brother Huang is really calculating. Yanbei City. It's not a dull person. If you think about it a little, you will find out all the reasons. The color of your eyes changes from light to thick, and the ink color is floating in your eyes. Mo Shanghua also gathered her eyes and kept silent, carefully thinking about the advantages and disadvantages of this matter in her mind. After a long time, she raised her head again and leaned back, her hands around her chest. She looked like she was ready to take care of herself. Do you believe in my medical skills? What do you mean? Yan Beicheng's eyes flashed, and he thought about what Mo Shanghua might do in his mind. He thought about it thoroughly, but he was sure. Mo Shanghua, under his deep and secluded gaze, nodded slightly. However, it's up to you to solve my forbidden foot first. Since you want to solve my forbidden foot, Nanji will also solve it together. It's naturally simple. Yanbei City directly accept down, eyes to restore a deep, good time to look at the flowers, then the next step, how do you plan to do? The color of silence in the flower eyes on the street remained unchanged, and the words were very leisurely, nature doesn't do anything. Yan Beicheng saw the silence in her eyes for thousands of years, as if she had a soul in her heart, and immediately realized, well, that's right. In that case, we might as well do something meaningful. What's the point? Mo Shanghua looks up at him, eyes color seems to be puzzled. Yan North City Mao inside a faint light delimits, the lip cape is to stir up a touch of mysterious smile. In the puzzled eyes of Mo Shanghua, his body slowly leans forward and approaches her a little bit. Put on the flower not to dodge, just don't understand looking at him a little bit close. When Yan Beicheng's lips were only half an inch away from Mo Shanghua's beautiful cheek, she was able to walk. Later, when he wanted to avoid it, a knock came out of the door. "Princess, princess." Then, Qinya's voice came in from the outside. Yan Beicheng suddenly froze in the same place, his face darkened, and his face was rather gnashing teeth. The flower on the street glanced at him with the remaining light, and couldn't help laughing. It was hard to get a smile between her eyebrows and eyes. Outside, Qinya only heard the laughter of flowers in the street, but no one answered. She couldn't help knocking a few more times. "Princess, prince, servant Qinya." Yan Beicheng's face became more and more dark, especially the smile on his lips, which made him feel a little angry. Under such shame and annoyance, his eyes were suddenly deep. He turned to his face and quickly kissed the white and delicate cheek of the stranger. Then he quickly moved his body backward, just like a child. He laughed with pride. His always deep eyes were shining at this time. Now the flowers froze. "Her whole person is dull. Come down, good long time, just raise a hand to cover own cheek after knowing." The place that had been kissed was just like the place that had been burned with a hot iron. The porcelain white cheeks were burning red in a flash, and even the roots of the ears were burning. "You." She quite some shame annoyed of gouge out Yan North City one eye, but a words have also vomit not to come out. Yan Beicheng's lips turned up in delight, and even Qinya's knock outside the door was very pleasant. "Come in." When Qinya came in, she saw that the ear lobes of flowers on the street were red, and her heart suddenly became clear. She could not help but covered her lips and laughed. Mo Shanghua was more and more embarrassed and annoyed in her heart, but she straightened her face and said, "What are you laughing at? If you have something to say, you can't be punished if you delay." "Princess, you are so angry." Qinya Fei is not afraid of it. Instead, she mumbles with a smile, which attracts a stare from the stranger. Thinking of the people waiting outside, Qinya's smile broke down a little, and her face was not good. Mrs. Ping asked for a meeting outside, saying that she was coming to see the princess. Mo Shanghua Mao inside tiny can't check of skip a touch of displeasure, even she didn't notice. After pondering for a moment, her eyes fell on Yan Beicheng. "Yan North City is very innocently touched to touch nose wing. Does my king have ash on the face?" Mo Shanghua didn't answer his words, but glanced back. "Please come in." His face was calm, and he could not see happiness and anger. Seeing this, Qinya couldn't say anything more. She ordered a second-class maid to invite people in. "Pingji today wants to lose a special dress, makeup delicate and decent, and wearing a soft pink dress, more pink peach cheek, delicate and lovely." However, even with the cover of the powder, she could still see some slight swelling and unclear 5 fingerprints on her face. As soon as she came in, her eyes first fell on Yan Beicheng. "Ying Yingfu, I've seen the prince and princess." Yan Beicheng was obviously not interested in her. He just nodded, and then there was no following. He didn't even have any superfluous words. The flower on the street is also as usual, pale, lukewarm. "Get up." Pingji gets up according to her words. She didn't feel embarrassed at all. She said with a smile, "The prince is really interested in the two sisters." After a while, he saw Nanmei and the princess all over. "I can't compare the good fortune of my two sisters, so I can only come by myself." After a pause, she glanced at Mu'er on her side and said, "My concubine guessed that the king had been working hard all the way, but the breakfast was not good, so she cooked tremella soup specially. You might as well have a taste. Put it here first." Yan Beicheng orders the little table in front of him. After Mu'er really puts the tremella soup on the little table, he doesn't move. His eyes follow Mo Shanghua all the time. Mo Shanghua also raised his eyes and swept the tremella soup. Looking at Yan Beicheng's eyes, he said, "Pingji's craftsmanship is good. I smell it sweet." Pingji's eyes immediately dyed a bit of satisfaction. "Maidservant concubine specially for the king and learn, if too bad, also dare not end to the king in front of." Mo Shanghua's face didn't change, but her voice suddenly turned, but when I just heard Qinya's report, it seemed that Pingji came to visit me. I don't know if you can prepare another one for me. It's a calm voice, but it seems to bring endless chill, which makes people feel cold. Pingji's face was stiff and her brain was empty. She didn't know how to respond. As a matter of fact, it was just what she said casually, fearing that Qinya would stop her. She was slapped yesterday. It's too late to hate her, let alone prepare for the flowers. What's the matter with you, but what's the difficulty? You can't make a bowl of porridge? Mo Shanghua didn't let her go, and Qingling's voice rang again. At this point, she just looked at Pingji for no reason. As for the specific reason, maybe it was Pingji's 3 or 4 provocations in the past. Pingji's eyes for help immediately fell on Yan Beicheng, and she went a few steps closer. My lord, I'm just worried about you. It's just a moment of neglect. Strange, the princess didn't do anything to you, but I just want a bowl of soup. Yan Beicheng didn't seem to understand what she was saying, and his face was full of inexplicable color. Pingji suddenly felt cold hands and feet, quickly turned around. Princess, I don't mean that, I'm just in a hurry. What do you mean? I'm a little confused. I don't know what you mean. Mo Shanghua, a delicate cheek, the upper half of the emotional fluctuations, light enunciation. Maidservant. Before finishing a sentence, Qinya on one side suddenly said, Princess, Madam Ping always respects you. How can you do something in your name? Don't think much about it. How can this little girl speak for herself? Pingji's heart beat with a faint sense of uncertainty. Before she had time to speak, she heard Qinya say, Princess, do you remember the herbs that Mrs. Ping promised to send you that day? I think Mrs. Ping is here for this matter. Mo Shanghua and Qinya look at each other calmly, and then they understand her meaning in an instant. At the moment, they cooperate with each other very much and say, that's right. Pingji is always indifferent, but she will not do the flattering and disrespectful things as you say. After all, no one can do without the punishment of palm and mouth. Seemingly understatement, but in silent remind Pingji. Pingji nearly broke a silver tooth, and didn't open her mouth for a long time. The master and servant of them had made up their mind to pit her severely, but she was careless and let them take advantage of the loophole. If you want to resolve it, you can only do as they say. But all the herbs on the list are expensive, and the quantity is not small. She came from a bad family. Her family couldn't give her any money at all. She didn't have enough money to buy the herbs in the palace. Kill her, she can't take it out. She can't take it out. Since this bitch doesn't want to make her feel better, she will never make her feel better. Pingji was so hateful that no matter what happened to her, she bit her teeth and knelt down. You can see that, Lord, when you are still here, the princess dares to humiliate her. You can imagine how she and Nan may come over these days when you are away. Said, unexpectedly as covers the mouth nose to whimper. The flower on the street has a slightly coagulated complexion, and there is a touch of cold at the bottom of the eyes, like the ice in the ice and snow, which makes people feel cold. Qinya is even more angry. She is about to argue. Before she comes forward, she is stopped by the flower on the street and uses it. Only 2 people. The voice that could be heard said, let's see what flowers she can sing first. Qinya is not willing to stare at Pingji, who is crying, but obedient. Since the princess asked her to see the play, she watched to see if the prince would believe her one-sided words. Seeing that Pingji wiped the tears that did not exist in the corner of her eyes, she choked and continued, My lord, look at the palm print on my maid's face. This is what the princess ordered yesterday. Xueji is ill. Fearing that she couldn't catch Yan Beicheng's anger, she said, and Nanmei, who was weak and tight, the doctor said that she couldn't bear to be angry. But after the princess returned to the palace, she first got angry with Nanmei in order to control the power of the palace, and then there was Yunji's case. This is also a lingering illness. What's more, which one of them is not the princess but the change of color? I'm afraid the whole palace will not be peaceful if the lord goes on like this for a long time. At this point, on the contrary, she was a bit concerned about the overall situation. Yan Beicheng's eyes were not smiling. He couldn't see the slightest pity for Pingji. According to you, isn't the concubine guilty? If so, it's unforgivable. But if it is not true, the king should not be guilty of anything. Are you sure what you have said is true? Pingji just thought that Yan Beicheng was so convinced. She was very happy and said, I dare not lie. Yan Beicheng's eyes then turned to the flowers on the street. Compared with the four eyes, what they saw was a kind of unfathomable and beautiful ink color in each other's eyes. Although I can't see Yan Beicheng's look, the flower on the street is clear, and there is no doubt in his eyes. It was because of this that she felt a touch of joy in her heart, but it was only for a moment, and she didn't even notice it. I don't know why, clearly can't see two people's look, Pingji heart but without reason a little uneasy, can't help but weigh, please also make a decision. Good. Yan Beicheng finally opened his mouth, but not according to what Pingji thought. He began to question Mo Shanghua and casually said, go and call Shueji, Nanji, and the maids in Pingji courtyard. By the way, if you run into several unrelated maids on the way back, you can call them back at the same time. The boy behind him answered quickly and turned to leave. The rest of Pingji and others are at a loss, even Qinya is also unknown, so look at the flowers on the street. At first, the flowers on the street were a little confused, but in a flash, the confusion in the eyes was as clear as the wind. Since Yan Beicheng could solve the problem, she simply sat down and drank tea, as if the protagonist of the storm was not herself and had no relationship with herself, which made Qinya worried. Yan Beicheng's intimate boy's action is not slow either. He brought back dozens of maidservants and a few of the boys he met on the road. Most of them met on the road and worked in other places. Dozens of maidservants filled the room, but Yan Beicheng was not impatient. He ordered a maidservant out and said, I ask you, where are you working? Back to the lord, the maidservant is on duty in the dining room. The maid bowed her head respectfully and spoke softly. Yan Beicheng nodded and said, I'll ask you again. During the days when I was not in the palace, did the princess ever scold you, or did you ever hear that the princess was too hard on the maids in which court? The maidservant was stunned for a moment. She didn't seem to expect that Yan Beicheng would ask this question. She subconsciously looked at Mo Shanghua and then said, since the princess controlled the palace, the maidservants' food and clothing, including monthly money, are exactly the same as before. Although the princess can't treat them well, it can't be said that it's not good either. Those Lei Li Feng Ting have only heard of it, and the princess is sitting here. How dare she talk nonsense? Yan Beicheng said thoughtfully, well, that. The maid returned to the line. Lord, this. Pingji heart a jump, can't help but go forward. Now Mo Shanghua is sitting here. She didn't expect that Yan Beicheng would have this skill and didn't make any preparation. How could these people be the same as her? However, Qinya did not finish his speech. Seize the opportunity to interrupt directly, Mrs. Ping, you'd better not open your mouth just like the princess at this time. If you don't, it's not good to change the girl's opinion and cause gossip. Pingji a choke, originally want to attack, but think of Yan North City here, can only have to shut up. Sooner or later, she will tear the little bitch's mouth and torture her to death. Yan Beicheng's inquiry was not interfered by them at all. After the maidservant went back, he said in a loud voice, which one is on duty in Shueji courtyard? Back to the lord, the maidservant is waiting for Mrs. Shui. Two maidservants in second-class dress came out of the line, looking rather nervous. It's said that Shueji is ill. What's wrong with her? Can you ask the imperial doctor to see it? What does it have to do with the princess? Back to the prince, Mrs. Shui was in an emergency that night. There was no doctor on duty in the government that night. The sister who was close to the lady invited the princess. However, the princess just looked at it and didn't prescribe medicine. The next day, she went to the doctor to see it and prescribe medicine. It didn't matter, but it wasn't all right. After a pause, another maid said, if the lord is free, you might as well go to see his wife. She doesn't say it, but she is still worried about him. I'll talk when I'm free. Yan Beiqing answered casually, and then ordered the servant girl to come out. He asked the same question and answered the same as the two maids in front of him. Yan North City Mao Guang once again dyed the color of a smile, turned his eyes and looked at Pingji. Pingji, if as you said, the Lord really treats everyone in the house, why their words are completely different from what you said. My lord, the princess is sitting here at the moment. She usually governs the house with ruthless methods. These are a group of cheap people. How dare she tell the truth? Pingji pinched her palm and tried to keep calm. Mo Shanghua, who had been watching the play quietly, just glanced at her, and her voice was calm and calm. Even Pingji, you all know that when you need the Lord, you should stab me. If these people really resent me, why don't you just testify? You know, if so many people testify together, even if I finally fall down, I'm afraid I can only blame the public for the law. If I fall down, there's no chance of turning over. Pingji's face turned blue and she bit her teeth. She retorted, even so, what's the credibility of the words of a group of slaves? Who knows if they are talking nonsense under tension? This is even more wrong. Mo Shanghua interrupted calmly, these people are all summoned by the Lord's temporary intention. First, they don't have the time arranged in advance. Second, they are not threatened by others. They don't do bad things. Why should they be afraid of the ghost knocking on the door? This sentence is the same for you. Flat G done when a choke, eyes immediately gush out a few minutes hate color. She thought that she was useless, so she pulled out Nanji, but how could she think that Yan Beiqing was so protective of Mo Shanghua that she didn't even ask Nanji? Yan Beiqing saw the look in her eyes thoroughly, and the light and mocking color in her eyes did not hide. Pingji, I don't ask much about the palace. It's my nature to like freedom, not stupidity. You'd better play less in the future. Wang Yi. Pingji pretty face white a few minutes, legs a soft kneel down. Since you like to gossip with one mouth, you can ban it for 1 month. Before he finished his sentence, Yan Beiqing interrupted directly, obviously not interested in listening to her. 50. Pingji's eyes widened in an instant, full of disbelief. Yesterday's injury is now just barely good, in 50, how can her face get? Before I had time to plead for mercy, the flower on the other side added leisurely, by the way, I have another medicine prescription sent to you a few days ago. Later, I will send someone to take the medicine list and get it from you. Pingji's face turned very white. She quickly knelt to the foot of Yanbei City, tugged at his hem and begged for mercy. My lord, I'm just confused for a moment. I didn't mean to do this to the princess. You've got to go around me. I know I'm wrong. It's pitiful to say so in tears. Yan Beiqing, however, was not moved, and his face sank. If the king indulged you this time, wouldn't people dare to bully the princess like you in the future? I want to let everyone in the house know that although the princess has come all the way and has no family to protect her, I am her strongest backing and I will always protect her. Come on, take it down now. The sentence, I am her strongest backing, is like a huge stone into the water, which makes everyone here shocked. They all know that the prince dotes on the princess, but they never expect that he has reached such a level, which even Mrs. Nan never had. Even Mo Shanghua himself is also slightly surprised. Mao Guang complex looked to Yan Beiqing. Pingji completely stayed down, until she was taken down, she suddenly recovered, but she was no longer pleading and crying, and let two powerful women take her down. In addition to being shocked by this incident, she thinks that today's incident is that she is too anxious to avenge the past few days. Otherwise, she would never have been. You are all scattered. You don't have to wait here. Qinya quietly looked at the look of the flowers on the street. Xinzhuan pursed her lips and snickered. Then she drove the people in the house away with a straight face, and she quickly stepped back. There were only 2 people left in the room, and the atmosphere gradually solidified. Why, have you been dumped by me again? Flowers on the road. Without speaking, Yan Beiqing was not embarrassed, as if he had never said anything before. Mo Shanghua's eyes were tiny, but the color flickered slightly. Subconsciously, he avoided his eyes. It's okay, but I'm tired. I don't want to talk much. You can go and sit elsewhere. With that, she just got up. Just before entering the bedroom, she stopped for a while, but it was only a moment. After a while, she resumed her nature and continued to walk in. In a flash, there was only one person left in the house. He looked at the direction of the flower bed hall on the street, and his lips gently rose uncontrollably. The ink in his eyes was beautiful, and he could not see what he really thought. After a while, he took out a porcelain vase from his sleeve, put it on the small table, and got up to leave. Yan North City walked for a while time, Mo Shanghua just walked out from the bedroom. She looked at the place Yan Beiqing had just made for a while, and then fell on the small porcelain vase. Consciousness takes it up. The body of the porcelain bottle is pure white, and there is no label on it to indicate what it is. Mo Shanghua simply opened the bottle stopper and smelled it, but she sniffed it lightly, and then she analyzed the ingredients of the drug in an instant. Hongfeng, Lingji, Yanjiao. The properties of these drugs are combined, and should be used to solve certain properties. I think this is the antidote of Yan Moli's poison. The poison in Yan Moli was really related to him. It seems that Yan Moli's visit to Yuzhou also violated the interests of Yan Beicheng, and there was a certain confrontation between them. However, it seems that Yan Moli didn't get a bargain. In addition to these, what she is more curious about now is the poison. She took Yan Moli's pulse that day. This poison is not ordinary poison at all. It's almost the same as what she usually matches. If she wants to solve it, she'll have to waste some time. Even when Yan Beicheng began to accept such a person, if he had the chance, he really wanted to. In these 2 days, Yan Mo's behavior was as usual. He accepted the maidservant arranged by Mo Shanghua and the doctor who came to treat him. He cooperated with the treatment very well. Everything is very normal, even without contact with the outside world, a look of peace of mind. As for what the maidservant who was sent by Mo Shanghua saw, even Mo Shanghua didn't know. It's doubtful that she didn't let them come back to report for the time being. However, Mo Shanghua has ordered the news outside. Let Yan Moli know what he should know. Therefore, today's matters of urine and urine in the palace are exactly in Yan Moli's ears. Such as Princess Mo Shanghua, how much she is loved now, Yan Beicheng dotes on her, and so on. Although Yan Moli listened, he had no waves on his face, but he laughed in his heart. If Yan Beicheng is really pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, don't you know in his mind that the flower on the street can also be regarded as the emperor's spy on him? In this way, how can he really like the flowers on the street? At most, the two are just cooperative relations. And it's a kind of mutual defense. A little provocation can lead to problems. Thinking of this, he couldn't help scratching a meaningful color in his phoenix eyes. He was constantly calculating the feasibility of this matter and the benefits he could get. Before I thought about it for a long time, the wound on my chest suddenly became extremely painful, like the pain of being gnawed by millions of mice. Yan Moli Jian eyebrows slightly twitched, thin lips tightly into a straight line, but can't see too big emotional fluctuations. The bodyguard behind him noticed this, and his face changed slightly. He came near and lowered his voice and said, "Your Highness, but it's happening again." Yan Moli nodded, also lowered his voice and said, "Step back, don't show your flaws here." There was a strong sense of forbearance in his voice, as if this sentence had taken a lot of effort. Then he went back to his room without saying a word. Seeing this, the bodyguard went to a maid and said in a low voice, "Your Highness should take a nap first. You'd better prepare lunch. You'd better wake up and use it." Yes. Yan Moli took a lunch break at this time these days, and then he got up to eat breakfast and read books. Therefore, without any doubt, the maid answered the question directly and stepped down. Yan Moli to no one else's bedroom. The body will be a soft, sitting on the edge of the bed, the face of the color of pain gradually emerged. If the wound was gnawed on the pain, so that his brows will not be controlled tightly together, the amount of tendons burst up, but also full of sweat. Around is so, he's still forced to endure, a sound of pain did not send out. When the bodyguard came in, he could not help but silence when he saw this scene. He could only stand by and accompany him in silence. The pain lasted for a long time before it disappeared. At that time, his whole body was almost soaked with sweat, and his hair was very sticky on his cheek. Seeing this, the bodyguard dares to come forward, carefully unties Yenmoli's clothes, and then takes apart the gauze that wraps the wound layer upon layer to check the wound. I saw a part of the wound that should have been healed, but there was no sign of improvement at this time. The skin was still turning outward, and a small amount of blood adhered to it. It looked like a fresh wound. However, because of the poisonous hair, the wound began to bleed again, and it was still easy to stop. Otherwise, it would be fatal if the blood flow continued. The bodyguard skillfully took out a porcelain vase from his sleeve, sprinkled it on the wound, and then bandaged it up. "Your Highness, your poisonous hair has become more and more frequent recently. If the wound is not healing, I'm afraid it will be infected and rotten." The guard frowned and worried. Mo Li Mao inside flits over a few minutes tyrannical, implicit have exasperation of sign, "This trip is really to compensate Madam again fold soldier, really hateful." Then there was a long silence. The bodyguard caught a glimpse of the irritability in his eyes. He had already closed his mouth and didn't dare to say much. For a long time, the tyranny in his eyes gradually returned to calm, and the sweat-soaked hair on his face also returned to dryness. His thin lips moved gently, slowly spitting out a few words, "Plan ahead of time. Mo Shanghua just had dinner here, and the maid who was waiting on Yenmoli came to her and asked her to come. It is said that after eating lunch, Yenmoli's wound became extremely colic, and even the healed wound broke open again. The most terrible thing was that he vomited blood at his mouth and looked haggard. When the flowers arrived, Yenbei City had already arrived for a while. At that time, he was looking at the maid kneeling on the ground with an angry face. The doctor said angrily, "You'd better explain to the king where the poison in the food of the second emperor brother comes from. If not, the king will take off all your heads and bury the second emperor brother with you." "Lord, calm down. The flowers on the street are facing the blessing of Yenbei City. A worship," low voice advised, "that Brother Huang is still lying in it, and the murderer has not been found." "How can I calm down?" Yen Beicheng's anger did not abate, and his voice was gloomy. "You have to find it slowly. Now your second highness's body is very important." Mo Shanghua gently put his hand on Yen Beicheng's shoulder to comfort him. "By the way, is Dr. Lu coming? It's been a long time since I went back to the princess." One of the maidservants who was waiting for her came out to respond. As soon as the words were heard, the green bead curtain inside was lifted. Lu Zhen came out with a medicine box and bowed down in front of Hua Yenbei City. "Don't be so polite. First of all, what's the matter with your brother?" Yen Beicheng waved his hand, and the sentences were all very fast because of worry. "However, it seems to worry about the depths of the eyes, but a Wang indifference, no half-temperature." Lu Zheng's eyebrows and eyes drooped, and his face was also heavy. "Lord Hui, the poison has been temporarily controlled, but it has not been completely removed. Because of limited medical skills, I'm afraid I can't eradicate the poison for His Second Highness." Seeing this, the flower on the street frowned slightly. "Even Dr. Lu can't cure it." "What's the poison?" "It's so powerful. Yen North City cold hum a, complexion black heavy, regardless." "What kind of poison is it?" "If you dare to poison the king's brother under the king's eyes, if you find out who it is, you will die without a burial place." "Lord, don't be too excited. It's better to look for the murderer later. Now the most important thing is the poison." The flower on the street opens its mouth at the right time, and its words are generous and appropriate. Yen North City complexion this just relaxed a few, don't talk much, obviously is to hand over the affair to Mo Shanghua. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua did not refuse and asked, "Your Second Highness is awake now. How long has he been poisoned? What? When will it happen again?" Lu Zheng lowered his head and eyes, and said, Princess Hui, your second highness has awakened. According to Wei Chen, the time of the attack should be irregular. When the attack happens, it will destroy the scab on the wound and make it impossible for the wound to heal. The process is even more painful. It's completely poisonous. It should be 4 days later. If there is no treatment at that time, the wound will fester and the high fever will not subside until death. It is the same as the death caused by wound infection. After a pause, he felt puzzled. As for the poisoning time, it's reasonable to say that it's not only a problem at noon today, but also the food today has been poisoned. It can't be another day. However, the pulse just now seems to show that His Highness has been poisoned for some time. How is that possible? On the street, the center of the eyebrows is tighter, and the face is full of disbelief. On the front of Lu's face, he was puzzled and said, I'm also surprised. The poison found in the meal is the same as that found by your highness. It should be good today, but... Do you mean that your highness has been poisoned somewhere else, but he wants to come here to cheat you? A language is not over, has been following in Yen Mo Li's side. Close protection bodyguards suddenly came out, cold voice question. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua immediately stood up to help explain, why is this bodyguard so excited? Imperial Dr. Lu is just confused, but he doesn't dare to be sure. Maybe it's because His Highness's poison is too severe, so there are some misdiagnoses. Misdiagnosis is such a big stain on a doctor. If the general doctor is said like this, he will be very angry for a long time. But the front color of the willow is as old as before, and the eyebrows and eyes are buried lower. The poison in the second highness is really rare, and I have never heard of it. In this way, it can also be regarded as an indirect recognition of the words of Mo Shanghua. The cold color on the bodyguard's face was relieved. It's not as cold as it was just now. The anger on Yan Beiqing's face also reduced a lot at this time. He didn't wrinkle tightly. You don't want to take care of your brother. How did you come out, but what's the matter with your brother? The bodyguard nodded and his voice was flat. Your Highness wants you to go in and say that he wants to know what his poison is, and the person who poisoned him. Your Highness also wants to see who it is. But it's not suitable for so many people to go in now. Your Highness should have a good rest at this time. Lu Zheng as a doctor, timely mouthed dissuade. Your Highness said that the body is his own body. He has his own sense of propriety and does not need to be talked about by others. When the bodyguard saw this, he was cold again. Lu Zheng choked and said nothing. Mo Shanghua took a look at Yan Beiqing, who was still sitting on the seat, and said, Lord, let's go and have a look first according to the second highness. Brother Wangzi is more than ever. Although Yan Beiqing said so, he got up and went in with Hua Luzheng and others. At this time, Yan Moli only wore a thin tunic, and his face was very white. As soon as he saw the flowers coming in, he stood up and said, Brother Huang, sister-in-law, cough. Without saying a word, he clenched his fist slightly and coughed softly. Yan Beiqing sat down on the low stool beside him and said in a low voice, Brother Huang, it's better to talk less now. You can rest assured that the person behind you who poisons you will not be let go and will be punished severely. We know what you mean. This is what happened in your house. In that case, we will give you the whole task of investigating the real murderer. Yan Emoli language temperature and, don't see half-cent anger, just, this temple now more want to know, this poison, in the end there is no solution. It's a question that doctors can answer, but he focuses on Yan Beiqing. Yan Beiqing only did not see, but turned his eyes to Lu Zheng. Lu was embarrassed and hesitated for a long time. Then he said, the medical skill of Wei Chen is shallow. I really don't have a clue about this poison. Please, Your Highness. The Lord has made a plan. There was a long silence in the room, which was broken by Yan Beiqing's rage. How can there be no solution? I tell you, if you can't cure your brother, don't take this head. It's true can't help but make complaints about the smile in his eyes. He frowned on his eyes and frowned. Don't be angry, Wang Yi. Cough. Yan Emoli coughed again, and his voice became more and more weak. Brother Huang, it's really not the doctor's business. It's just life and death. But if I really can't survive here, I'm afraid that my father will be investigated and you will be involved. That's my fault. It seems that the words of self-blame and worry are not threats. Yan Beicheng's eyes were cold, but his face was not changed. Brother Huang, don't worry, I can't find a good doctor for you. The people in the imperial city are outstanding. I think there must be someone who can solve this poison. Yan Emo spilled a bitter smile on his lips, as if he had no hope. After a few seconds of silence, he suddenly thought of something and said, although it's only 2 days since I lived in the palace, many people in the palace say that the princess's medical skill is so good that even the dying can be easily saved. Now I'm no different from the dying. Why don't you try it? I know some simple medical skills, but it's not as miraculous as the one passed down by my highness. The poison in his highness is extraordinary. I dare not try it rashly. Please change to a credible and convenient person. On the street, the perianth points to, eyebrow center with naked eye speed light twist once, seem to be unwilling, the words that say is extremely appropriate. Because of their enmity in the imperial city, Yan Moli had long expected that the flower in the street would have a bad heart and would not help him with diagnosis and treatment. But Mo Shanghua is the most likely person to get the antidote in Yan Beicheng. He has to be her. Thinking of this, he took the corner of his lip with a wry smile. You have come to this field, so you should treat the dead horse as a living horse doctor. The flower eyes on the street deliberately let out a reluctant color and continued to refuse. Your Highness, to tell you the truth, it's not that I don't want to be treated, but if I really want to be treated, the things and people involved behind are too wide. If the treatment is not good, I'm afraid I will inevitably be involved. I really can't and dare not. Can you tell me alone? Yan Emoli a pair of weak but not strong eyes, looking at the flowers for a long time. Although I was looking at the flowers in the street, I was talking to Yan Beicheng. Yan North City also obviously hesitated for a while. The black color in the eye is deep thick. Yan Emoli didn't urge, just cover lips light cough, complexion is very painful appearance. Seeing this, Yan Beicheng stood up and said, since your brother invited you, you can have a chat with him, and everyone else will step down. As he spoke, he took the lead in walking away, and all the people in the house, including the bodyguard who had been protecting Yan Moli, also stepped down. Sit down. Yan Moli sat up in his clothes, and his face was as pale as before, except that his face was still pale. Mo Shanghua obviously didn't like to stay with Yan Moli. He didn't even want to sit down. Your Second Highness should know that I'm a wife. It's against the rules for you and me to get along alone. To avoid suspicion, I'd better stand. Since you like it, we don't demand it. Yan Mo gave a gentle smile, a good way to speak. I heard that you have had some attainments in medical skills in recent months in Yuzhou, but everyone in the palace is praising you. It's only a few months. Even with high talent, it's impossible to be a real dead man. The flower on the street is slightly astringent, with light complexion. The seemingly peaceful atmosphere, in fact, the two have been silent confrontation once. Of course, the royal palace can't, but it should be able to bring down grain. Yan Moli a pair of narrow phoenix eyes, quietly staring at the flowers on the street, the skin does not smile. As soon as this sentence came out, the atmosphere in the air seemed to stick together with the falling of this sentence. Two people line of sight in a hurry to meet for a moment, Mao Jiuang all is calm deep you, mutually hope not in the end. For a long time, the flower on the street just took back her eyes, still in an Enron state. It's a rare thing that hasn't been found for many years. I'm afraid it can't be found easily now. Now that I'm poisoned, I'm in danger at any time. You and I might as well spread it out. However, Yan Moli suddenly changed his tone and opened his mouth very frankly. I know Jianghe is in your hands now, and I know how you got it from that fool. Although we don't like such means, we are now in danger of our lives. If we can exchange our lives with them, even if we threaten them, we will not hesitate to do so. He was the man of that day. Mo Shang Mao color from light to thick, voice slightly heavy, so what? Your Highness, don't you forget that this time is different from the past. I'm not the poor woman whose identity was taken away from me in the past. Yan Mo's lips were slightly crooked and his smile was treacherous. Although Wu Chen was a fool, he lost such a big business. Do you really think that Wu family would give up so easily? It's not easy to provoke people who live in the long house of the Wu family. After a pause, he added, by the way, I forgot to tell you that the gold Wu Qing received that day was stolen after he went back. He can't hide this. How could he send someone to steal back the gold he spent? Mo Shanghua never thought that Yan Moli had been shameless to this point. Even so, she said, even if it leaks out, I don't have to be afraid of them. After all, they are from neighboring countries. Do they dare to be presumptuous in my court? If so, Your Highness will not allow it. You've got a lot of spirit now. Yan Moli is not angry, but sincerely praised. The flowers on the street look light and unmoved. From her previous memory, she knew that Yan Moli was such a mild and normal person, but in fact, he was insidious and cunning. It was common for her to set traps by words. When she got along with such a person, she had to keep away from them all the time. Seeing that the flowers on the street were speechless, Yan Moli continued, it's just one thing to be bold, and another thing to be realistic. Now you have a bad reputation in Yuzhou, and it seems that you are not so good in the palace. If the people who are hostile to you in the imperial city know it, and join in the name of immorality, your position as the princess will not be guaranteed. In fact, Mo Shanghua didn't care about the position of the princess, but now she always wanted to cooperate with Yan Mo, so she deliberately coagulated her face and frowned slightly. Seeing this, Yan Mo glanced at the bottom of his eyes and said, what's more, if the temple can't be treated in time, something really happens in Yuzhou. No matter whether it is related to the North City or not, he will be implicated. You husband and wife are one. If he is implicated, you will inevitably suffer with him. The flowers on the street gather their eyes, long eyelashes droop, and thin eyebrows become more and more tight as time goes on. It seems that they are engaged in a strong ideological struggle. At this point, Yan Moli was not anxious, and he took a cup of tea from the desk and drank it gracefully. But I don't know, in the eyelashes of the flowers on the street, they are quietly passing through a few points of light mockery. After a while, she seemed to think clearly. She looked up and said, Your Highness's means are really more and more brilliant. It seems that I have no choice now. Yan Moli's bloodless lip is slightly hooked. He seems to be in a good mood. This is the way to win each other. We also know that you are really different from the past. Now you should also know who is worthy of cooperation, and whether the person you have been trusting these days is really trustworthy. What does Your Highness mean by that? The flower on the street has a coagulated complexion, and the eyes are a little puzzled. Yan Moli's face was dark and unpredictable, and his voice was calm. We have just said that husband and wife are one. Although this is true, there is another sentence. I don't know if you have heard it. Mo Shanghua sneers at the bottom of his heart, but his face is still in a state of incomprehension. That is, the husband and wife are birds in the same forest, and they fly separately in the face of disaster. Yan Mo looked at the flowers on the street and said, just now, Beiqing asked you to leave the meaning of talking with me alone. I think you also understand it. In this way, he wants to tell Mo Shanghua that Yan Beiqing is just using her. No matter what feelings they have, as long as they are mixed with interests, they will never go on like this forever. Who knows when they will have to turn against each other because of their interests. In Yan Mo's gaze, Mo Shanghua's eyes were completely dark, and he pursed his lips slightly, not knowing what he was thinking. Yan Mo's lip angle radian not reduced but increased, the teacup back to the table, Yang Xingwei, come on. As soon as his voice fell, his bodyguard came in. If you go to send a message to the emperor's younger brother, you will say that the princess has agreed to treat our temple. For the time being, you don't need to look for 4 famous doctors. You can only trace the person who poisoned behind the scenes. Yen Mo Li Mao bottomed slightly over a little self-confidence, just like a king who controls the whole situation, light command. The bodyguard nodded and turned back. Yen Mo Li stretched out his wrist and nodded to the flowers on the road, please. Mo Shanghua stood still for a while, then moved to the front of collapse, put his fingers between his wrists, closed his eyes and felt his pulse. How? After a while, Yen Mo asked. Mo Shanghua took back his fingertips from Yen Mo's wrist, and his face had recovered. In 4 days, I will develop an antidote. As for the injury, we can only wait for further treatment after detoxification. We have faith in your medical skills. Yen Mo Li nodded, eyes deep color, quite some meaningful meaning. Mo Shanghua looks at him indifferently, then turns around directly, as if staying here for a while, she is not happy to the extreme. She just went out, and the bodyguard followed. Your Highness, do you really believe her? Yen Mo's lips were slightly crooked and his eyes were dark. Naturally, I don't believe it, but I believe that she has a way to get the antidote from Yen Beicheng. Even if she doesn't have it, she also has Jianghe in her hand. Isn't your Highness afraid of her poisoning? The guard frowned and worried. Yen Mo Li shook his head, face is full of self-confidence. If the temple left after another poison, she can't get rid of the relationship. Your Highness is thoughtful, and I admire him. Princess, what did your Second Highness say to you? Why did you agree to help him heal? I always think it's not so simple. Now you're in trouble. Qinya poured a cup of tea over, Lu Mei all straightened into a ball, worried. It's not something I can control. Whether I want to or not, I have to get involved. The color of flowers on the street is light, not half worried, and there is no reluctant state just before Yen Mo's face. Yen Mo Li's move has long been underway. No matter how she wants to deal with it, she can't help but treat it. Instead of being forced to come to the hospital by him, she had better go into the urn and play the play with him. And Yen Mo Li thinks he is a stranger. Yen Beicheng enters his wang, but he is already in their chessboard. Qinya knelt down in front of the flowers on the street with her chin in her hand. I don't know what's superfluous, but what I'm worried about now is, can you really grasp it? Dr. Lu said today that he could not. Mo Shanghua raised her hand and gently touched her eyebrows. She said angrily, you don't believe my medical skills? Qinya covered her eyebrows and begged for mercy, I'm not worried. If I really say that, I don't believe your medical skills. I'm afraid it's more than enough to be a miracle doctor. Mo Shanghua pursed her lips and smiled. It seems that she has left the matter behind. You're a little girl. You're so poor. Qinya spits out her tongue and turns her eyes.